Go ahead and start.
Yep.
Call the Waitsfield Selectboard meeting to order. First item agenda is whether there are any adjustments to the agenda. And we do want to put Twisted Halo application for liquor license. This would be your first liquor license.
Yep.
We'll put that at the beginning of the agenda. And we'll add the select board roundtable and the town administrator's report, which were not included in the original agenda at the end after the consent agenda. Any other changes?
Addition, letter of intent from Richard Backus to be on the General Weight House Commission.
Okay, let's put that after just before the work plan review after the tree board.
That's fine.
Any other? So second item is, are there anyone here for public comment? You're here for the
general
roof.
Weight House roof,
Yeah.
yep.
And Anne Marie, you're here for the White House as well, right?
I'm here to speak for Richard Backus.
Oh, okay.
And also to represent the General Weight House Commission for
Great.
this project.
So no public comments. We'll move on to the amended item for a liquor license, which we no longer receive copies of. They're all online with the state. We used to be able to get a copy of it, so we might have some questions. But this is to continue the roundup by the river?
Yeah. Essentially to do the same thing as the Sweet Spot was doing. So we would serve, this is just for beer and wine, no hard liquor. And we would serve it for the roundup as well.
So remind me, it used to be that the Sweet Spot had their roped-in area for their outdoor
Yeah.
consumption, which they had a license for. But
Yeah.
do you guys get a temporary outdoor consumption permit within the roped-in? Do you guys define an area around the food trucks?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to scale back a little bit because I'm not sure how much of the parking lot we can use this year. So I think we're gonna focus on moving it towards the main building, and then we won't have any outside food vendors. That'll just be for foot traffic in there, and that's where we'll serve.
And then live music.
Yeah, and live music, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And that, the outdoor consumption area is defined and approved by Department of Liquor Control, right?
Yeah, and it'll be roped off and closed.
And how,
It's
they
weird.
also kind of certify that all of your servers are
Yeah.
going through the state training?
Yeah, we've both done trainings before, but we'll re-up again for this.
Currently, it's just us.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been us for a long time.
Any other questions?
Live music outdoors?
Yeah. Johnny and Serena, I think, have been doing it for, I don't know, 10 years, I think, or something. But it's over where Sweet Spot used to be. But it's just, they used to rope off the whole parking lot, shut down the back parking lot. And then it's just a live music venue, basically, for one Wednesday every week. We're not sure we're doing it every single Wednesday, but we apply for every Wednesday.
Times?
5 to 9 p.m.
5 to 9?
Yeah.
And Brian, that is in the agenda also.
As a previous attendee, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for doing
Yeah,
it.
awesome. I'm
So
excited.
that's
My
what the
kids
festival permit
miss it.
was? Okay.
Yeah, so they also have a festival permit in tonight for
Oh,
the
okay.
roundup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got the liquor license and the festival permit. York had suggested moving them both up, which we should have. I'd like to maybe go ahead and do that.
I
if you still
I
can.
probably did not do that,
Yeah.
but
And
if you'd like to see it, this is their festival permit.
you can make accommodations for portalets.
So they already actually put them in for.
Oh, the Stewart
Yeah.
MRV there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other?
And then we're not even, the inside space is gonna be closed for it as well, I think, so the shop will actually just serve
It's just
outside.
basically gonna be run as it was before, perhaps a little bit scaled back because of the parking area.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Serena and Johnny kind of walk us through step by step all of their planning process and who they've worked with before. And we're also going to be working with Scoggin Road this year, so
Okay.
kind of to coordinate better in using the public space out there and also make them a part of it as well. So they'll be a little bit more synced in terms of schedules, and there'll be more menu options on their side too.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
Larissa, you got online?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties, but I'm here. Hello. Well, there.
Have you
Here at
followed
the end.
doing the liquor license and the?
I did for Twisted Halo, Scraggin Row, the sort of re-upping of the Wednesday evening
Yeah.
roundups.
Exactly.
I take it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Very exciting. I'm excited.
And I'll add then the dates they have, but they said they'll change, are starting May 21st, and then they have it listed for every week, but may alter that. And I checked with Jen, by the way, it's $25 each time, but she said they could pay, like, yeah, we were gonna do it this week, then they can pay before the event, was her understanding.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just pay. That's easy.
And if,
And I may have missed it. I'm sorry, Dave.
no, you're good, go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question? So I might have missed it, so forgive me if you're repeating yourself, but I understand that the sort of storefront or the main space for Twisted Halo is not going to be open. Is that true for Scraggin Row as well, or will there be sort of both an indoor and an outdoor component for food?
They'll be open and they'll be serving alcohol, but only within the actual physical premise or on their patio, which is already roped off as well. So
I was going to say that that's roped off now,
yeah,
so.
and we're gonna
great.
sticker cups to differentiate,
Well,
so
color
that
code,
even if
color code,
someone
yeah.
did bring something outside of it, you could then ID that someone had done that.
So that you can't buy a drink there and bring it out?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to keep them separated from each other and separated from anything that would be like consumption off premises
Yep.
then, yeah.
Great.
Just a practical thing on weather.
Yeah,
Do you have a kind of a plan for how to cancel or let people know if you're gonna cancel the event or what the policy is
I
for
think
rain?
the theory is that we might be able to just redo some of the awning area that we already have, because it's probably the size of this almost, and actually move music into there.
Cool.
And just kind of scale it back a little bit.
Alright.
we
So
started everything through farmers markets, so I have a pretty extensive tent collection
Nice,
that's
that's great.
collecting dust right now. And traditionally, when we did like Shelburne Farmers Market, we wouldn't miss a single one,
Cool.
like rain or shine.
Yeah.
So I think because we already have to do some repairs to the back porch area from all this nice snow that we got this
Yep.
winter, we'll try and kind of build that out a little bit more so it's less weather dependent.
Thanks.
Great.
So we're ready for a motion? Unless we'll have a motion to approve both the liquor license and the festival permit.
I would so move.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks so
See you
much.
there.
Thanks, guys. And Larissa was an aye for that,
Yes.
for the minutes.
That was, yes.
Yep.
Hey, more work.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
So-
I'm glad we were able to fit you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. She was
Appreciate it.
stressing.
Well, it's all done. It's all good.
Thank you guys.
Stress about the weather now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty
Yeah.
of other things, I'll find something.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks.
So next item is, we have 3 bids for replacing the roof on the General Wade House, Blue Sky Roofing, East Coast Metal, and Vermont Construction. The initial bids were all included in our packet. And my understanding is the General Wade House Commission reviewed them, discussed them, and may have a recommendation for us.
Yes, we do.
You want to, is it, and we do have a representative from Vermont Construction here. I don't know if you have anything to add or?
Yeah, I was invited, so I figured I'd come if anyone had any questions. It seemed like a good place to bring them up, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a presentation that you could give, or?
I don't have a presentation, I mean, I did bring our proposal. I know that the bid request had asked for an estimate for both screw down corrugated metal and for standing seam. We only provided an estimate for standing seam, because we do generally try to advise against the screw down metal, because it's prone to leaking. So there's that reasoning for
Yep.
that. But yeah, for the standing seam, they provide porta potty on site. Our estimate includes all the labor, material, and disposal of all the old material as well in there, as well as the warranties for the material and I think it's a 5-year workmanship warranty for standing seam.
And that was all covered in the.
Yeah, it's all in there as well, yeah.
Can I ask a question, do you mind?
Sure.
About, there's some concerns about the plywood underneath.
Yeah,
That did not include plywood, but one quote did include plywood. Would it be pretty similar? Like if half of the house needed new plywood, which is the concern?
Yeah.
That's something you guys do.
yeah, absolutely. So when they take it off, they would evaluate the sheathing. I did go to the property and look, but I wasn't able to like go in the attic. There's that little area where the buildings connect, that's kind of like a shed, where you can see the sheathing inside, and it was pretty tight together there. The rest of the house looks like that. But if it does need new plywood, we will replace it. If we're going over existing skip sheathing or barn board, it's $80 a sheet. If there's already plywood and we're ripping and replacing plywood, it's $95 a sheet. And I know there was 2 estimates. There was the membrane on the front porch, that did include plywood, but the standing seam estimate I don't think did.
So it's clear in my mind,
Yeah.
because it's such an odd old building.
Mhm.
Your estimate includes the porch, the main house, and the addition?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it stops at that connector?
No.
No, it goes further than that. So I think you asked for 2 estimates, correct? There was
Okay.
the main house, the membrane front porch,
Okay,
and then the addition went all the way back to, there's a barn that already has standing seam on it.
Mhm.
yeah.
So it includes everything up to there.
So so the house is 47,450.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Mhm.
Membrane and plywood is 3,930.
Yep.
And the connector space and barn is 28,350. So a total cost of 75,800.
But there's a part of the barn that is not included, is that right?
There's a barn that already has standing seam.
Yep, okay.
So, Anne Marie, do you want to kind of summarize the commission's discussion and maybe the 3 different proposals, which my understanding from reviewing them, we have 2 proposals for standing seam and 1 for a different product?
Correct, correct. First of all, the commission would like to make it clear that we have decided to not address the dairy barn at this time. That the dairy barn and the connector is, we do not recommend doing anything at this time with those.
And is that because if we need to restore them and jack them, it will damage the roof?
Yeah, it's because we don't really know what we're going to do
Yeah.
yet with that whole thing, and, I mean, we seriously considered jacking it up, because eventually we're going to have to jack up the dairy barn before we do anything. But we didn't feel comfortable committing at this time financially for jacking it up, and we just don't have the big
Yeah.
vision involved yet to be able to commit. I mean, we talked about maybe temporarily putting a corrugated roof on it just to protect it for now, but, so anyway, it's something that we need to discuss and
Yeah.
and figure out, but this is not the case for
And
this
you
project.
said both the dairy barn and the connector.
Exactly, to not include the connector or the dairy barn. Include the house and the addition, which includes Beth Kendrick's
Yeah,
area.
And and the RFP was clear with that.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, okay, so I wanted to make that
Yeah.
clear first off. Okay? Pretty much, we all concluded that we would like to go with the East Coast metal, primarily because of 3 things. One, it will look more like the Cedar Shake shingles when it's done. 2, it's more of a lifetime material. And 3, it's aluminum. It's super light. It's lightweight for the old building. So will not add any more to the structure. Those were the 3 primary reasons.
We relied heavily on Gibbs' recommendation.
Exactly.
And I had other reason to be with Gibb over the weekend, and he mentioned a pretty strong recommendation for that as well. Just, he said that he wasn't gonna be able to beat your commission meeting.
Now, keep in mind, it is the select board's decision.
Mhm.
So,
But the
of
recommendation-
course, the commission will accept whatever is the decision of the select board.
And what is their warranty?
I don't know the answer
It's in
to
the
that.
packet, but,
I'm familiar with, well, somewhat familiar with standing seam as a material, just because that's what we used when we restored our barn. And I'm not at all familiar with the aluminum shingles, or is there like a quick idea of what that's like in the, I know you said that it's going to look more like cedar shakes in the end. Have you guys viewed a property that has this
Product.
material?
No,
Yeah.
we've not visited a property, but the contractor did provide us with photos of 3 different buildings and that they have completed in the past. And they looked great, and I'm surprised that they're not included in the bid, the photos of what it would look
no,
like.
I think,
There is a,
I think I shared the website but,
there's a kind of a spec sheet on the material that has some photos. And they look.
Oh, it does. I'm sorry. Then that's an oversight on my part. My apology.
I think the energy efficiency is supposedly pretty good. Everything else, it's a lifetime warranty, lifetime workmanship.
That's,
It
it
said-
was 50-year workmanship and lifetime material.
I think they come in different colors, just like the standing seam. So I don't know if we've entirely talked about color, which is why I included a town administrator report, some information about color, just in terms of energy efficiency.
Where's the picture page?
I'm not sure it's in now.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
I think-
color would be brown. I mean, it would be probably a dark brown, I would recommend, as opposed to a light brown. So it would look like it's already a patinaed wood roof, rather than a brand-new cedar-shaped roof. Make it look like it's already has some age to it. Because we're stuck with that color for 100 years.
Here's their website. Sorry,
Did you, is Larissa still there?
Yep.
I am.
Yeah.
It should be.
You might be able to
Can
see
you
this.
zoom in at all?
I don't know, can I? You tell me. I don't know. I actually am not sure. Maybe like this? Yeah, maybe.
Here we go.
Oh, good job.
Okay.
Oh,
And actually, they said they were coming also, but, and
That's what
there
I
were 2
thought.
companies that said they were coming, and, you know, sorry.
And so just to get a sense of the estimated lifetime of it, you said 50 years on this one and?
50 year for repairs, I think is what they said, or
It's workmanship and.
workmanship, and
the
100 years
product.
for the material. And also, I'd like to mention that they gave us a cost estimate 1 year ago. When we called them up again to say, oh, we have RFP, they put together a proposal for us without realizing that they had already given us a proposal a year prior, and it was significantly more, and they Can you tell the
Well,
story?
I sent out the RFP to a lot of companies, and they, I got 3 in total. I talked to a couple companies that decided that they didn't want to bid. East Coast Metal put one in. It was significantly more, and I had never seen the proposal, and so I just reached out to Gib. I said, Gib, this is more than, and he said, oh, let me reach out, and so they sent another proposal, and it was within the time of the RFP, and that's what, they just re-proposed what they had proposed in the past, which is this proposal.
They also broke out a lump sum for plywood, not
That's right.
per piece. I mean,
That's right.
that would assume either all the plywood needs to be replaced or none of it. It's
And
covered.
that number is for everything, including the connector in the dairy barn. So that's not the proposal here. It's 75,000.
That's including plywood, but yes.
Yeah.
So it's 69,000 for the house. 69 and change. It was just a little under 70.
And 75 if plywood is required.
Ah, got it. I was,
64,972.
okay, I was looking at the number for the barn, which was significantly higher.
Mhm. So it's not that, it's not
Yes.
120.
I'm seeing 64.9 or 74.5.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the house, not the connector space.
And just for comparison, for the standing seam, what is, maybe I'm missing it in the packet, but the estimated life?
Standing seam lasts 50 to 75 years, depending on how it's installed.
Yeah.
So I'm just flipping between
So the East Coast Metal it's just further down, the 64,000 one, Brian.
Yeah, no, I see it.
So the first thing in Vermont construction, the first one listed is the membrane replacement. And then, so Vermont construction, 5-year workmanship warranty, manufacturer's material warranty, is this right?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's in the packet, and I'm sorry the pages aren't numbered, Dave will work on that next time.
Okay.
In York, remind me, we had, I believe it was around 70,000 in the reserve fund, and at the end of the year, we're gonna move another 100?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, Larissa does bring up a fair point. We don't know exactly what the end result is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what standing seam looks like. We love it. I mean, standing seam is everywhere. It's a Vermont standby. I have standing seam.
Yeah, on our house, we
Yeah.
chose standing seam over metal, so.
Me too.
The
Very
main thing
popular.
about standing seam is that it comes in at least 2 different gauges, and the smaller the gauge, the harder the material. I remember.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's contrary
Inverse.
to, it's not intuitive, right? The smaller the number, the stronger the material, and you do want to have a strong material, otherwise there's this thing called oil canning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what oil canning is?
No, I don't know what that means.
Okay,
We just got here from Tennessee, listen.
They don't have roofs in Tennessee.
okay, oil canning,
The oil cans, though.
okay, oil canning
You
is
guys need to be careful.
on standing seam metal roof, particularly on thin, not so much on the heavy stuff. So it's always worth it to get the heavy stuff. Because oil canning is when the heat hits the material and it forms this kind of
Wave
dippling, like a wave kind of dippling effect. We've all seen it on some standing seam metal roofs. That's colloquial called, do you guys call it oil canning?
Yes,
You
yeah.
do?
Yeah,
Okay.
you nailed it.
I did, well,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've been working as an architect, so that's the thing about standing seam, is that it is subjective to oil canning.
And this is the thick stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
This is the fixed.
yeah, so this is
Oh.
24 gauge standing seam, which
24
is, it's a sweet
versus
spot.
26.
Yeah, 26 is thinner,
thinner.
and it will probably have some oil canning.
Oil canning.
Yeah.
So she proposed the 24 good stuff.
And and I couldn't see this in going through the proposals before the meeting, any ice jams, I think,
Ice
the,
jams.
Valleys? What do you,
Oh, you mean that run horizontally as
Yeah.
opposed to vertically?
yeah, to keep ice from.
Oh, snow guards?
Yeah, snow
Snow
guards.
guards,
Snow guards.
okay. I don't believe they were included, because I don't think they were in the RFP, but they can always be added. They're pretty easy to add. Anywhere you need them, above entryways is always a good place to have them. 'Cause-
They are included in the East Coast.
They are included. Oh, that's,
But it's not clear that East Coast, are we expecting there to be cedar shakes underneath the current
no,
No.
roof that need to be stripped? No? Okay.
no, they're gonna
Stripped, yeah.
remove everything.
stripped,
They
yes.
they will be stripped.
Yeah, that was part of the RFP.
They all
actually.
have demo disposal. So what do folks think?
Well, and just so I understand, to get to apples, on the 28,350 here includes the barn, which is not being pursued in the Vermont construction bid that's broken out, or?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
we're not-
correct.
we're
Okay,
not
so
doing
we're comparing the 47 plus the 4 membrane.
Correct.
To the,
64.
to the 64 if no
69,
plywood
64.
was needed, okay.
64, yeah.
With very different materials, or assuming different materials.
Yeah, they're different materials.
I've taken a look at the website for the East Coast. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't finish. Sorry, Dave, did you finish?
Yeah, I'm good,
Sorry.
thank you. I just wanted to
Oh, okay.
make sure I understood the numbers.
Yeah, they look pretty great. From the photos and videos. In fact, it looks like there's a house right around the corner for me. If you guys want to just hold on, I can go run out. No, I'm kidding. I'm not actually kidding. But it looks like there are some in the area. And it sounds as if I understand correctly, at least, that the General Weight House Committee's recommendation is the East Coast metal shingles. Is that
That's-
Was that
is that correct?
Unanimous?
Yes, unanimous.
I'm inclined to take their being the General Weight House Committee. I'm inclined to take their recommendation. That's just me.
Yeah, I am too. I think having the shingle look will be hopefully kind of more characteristic of the historic look that it's had with the shingles over the years.
I think it's a nice compromise. Best compromise we can come up with between actually having cedar shingles and a metal roof.
I remember when we built this building, we priced out what were fake slate shingles. And
Oh.
they were really a nice looking product, but they were pretty expensive. We have asphalt. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Larissa. I kind of wish that a representative had been here to show us the materials. I did look at the pictures though, and they do seem to, be a unique product compared to the standing seam. And Fred, you voted with the Weight House Commission, so Dave, what do you?
I agree. The commission and Gibbs product recommendation.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I wrote an RFP, Judd, based on what I was told, and then it kind of did evolve, and then other products came in, so I just want to say out of fairness, that I did put out an RFP for a black standing seam. So I just feel, if there's a similar product that Vermont Construction has, it would probably be like, I probably should have thought of this earlier, but I feel like better late than never. Since now, and the RFP does say, you know, there's definitely leniency that the select board can, you know, choose based on the bids. But I did do it for black standing seam, and then it kind of evolved. So I don't know if there's a similar product.
Yeah, we don't offer a metal shingle option. Yeah, we primarily do standing seam
Okay.
and asphalt, so,
Okay,
yeah.
so that would have been,
That would have been the
That would've
closest
been
thing
your
we could have
product, okay,
provided,
okay.
yeah.
so sorry, but I think that was,
I appreciate that call out. No, that's good to know.
Well, if we all seem to be in agreement, take a motion to accept the bid from East Coast.
I would so move.
I would so move. Oh,
Second?
Fred would so move. I'll second.
Great.
Well, it's very good Friday.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Coming.
Yeah, thanks for the consideration.
Sorry,
I'm
thanks
kind
for
of excited
coming.
to see how it looks.
thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, please stop by.
Yeah, I will.
and you're welcome. I see your guys' trucks go back and forth all day long.
Oh, yeah, we stay pretty busy,
You
yeah.
see?
If anyone else needs a roof, always give us a call.
Thank
sure
you
we
so
will.
much.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank you.
visiting and coming.
And then we have another General Wade House item, the projector. There's a proposal for the tenants to share the cost of a kind of permanently installed or, you know, on a shelf projector. And there's a request that the town contribute a share of that.
Yeah, I'll let,
Oh,
Anne Marie, do you want to?
Yeah. So this brought up quite a discussion, let me just say, with the commission. And our concern was installing a corner shelf on plaster. And Nisha stated that it's not plaster, there's in fact a corner trim piece in the corner. So I didn't remember a corner trim piece, and Fred didn't remember a corner trim. So I left after that meeting to go across the street to see if I could peek through the windows.
I have a key in my pocket.
Oh. Well, then maybe I should do that, because I couldn't see.
Oh.
But what I was about to recommend is, even if there isn't one, to put a 2x, you know, like a 2x6 on either side, and paint it white, as, you know, to hold that corner secure in place, and then to place a shelf onto that. I don't think that that would be an issue. So, because very often there were corner pieces, because, you know, hey, it made it easier for the guy to plaster. He could just slap in the corner and be done with the plaster, and then, I mean, that's what trim is for, is to be able to cover up the difficult corners and edges.
Does the projector need to have a permanent fixed location?
Okay, so
It's a pain in the butt if you don't.
I asked him,
Sorry.
okay, I said, Misha, I get that it's a pain to use an old projector and you have to bring cables from your laptop to the projector and all, and there are projectors now that are all Bluetooth, and, you know, why can't you just get a brand new, state-of-the-art projector that you could just, you know, have in a case off to the side, and when you need it, you pull it out, plop it on the middle of the table, and, you know, adjust the legs so that it will go up and down to the screen. And he said, Anne Marie, that's not acceptable. It doesn't work. He said, you either, you'll get people, if you bring it back far enough, people will be in the screen, and if it's too close, the projection on the screen is too small.
And he said the time. it just takes time.
Well, and the other addition to that is that if you set it and forget it to a certain extent, there are fewer hands on it moving it.
That's
It's
true.
less likely to be damaged if it's put in a place and left there and pre-focused, and you can just
Pre-focused.
turn it on.
Exactly.
And what are we projecting? I missed this part.
Well, okay, so, the 3 tenants out of 4 use that conference room on a regular basis. For example, Misha was stating that the Mad River Path, they have bi-monthly meetings and then they have weekly meetings. And in order for him to have the meeting, he's got to make an arrangement with Josh, because it's the Mad River Valley Planning District that has the projector. So he makes an arrangement with Josh, hey Josh, I gotta have the projector, and then he carries it downstairs, and then he says the whole thing, start to finish, set up and break down, is up to an hour. So a half an hour to set it up and a half an hour to put it down. That's what he said.
I'll just add that
But I think what Dave was asking, maybe I misunderstood, but what is it being projected onto? Is that, like, what is the screen situation, or did I misunderstand?
They have a screen, okay.
They have a
Okay.
screen.
And is that a permanently installed screen, or is
No.
that,
No, it's a portable screen.
okay, because that sort of takes away some of the advantage of the set it and forget it component of the
Well-
projector if the screen is moving.
Right, so Misha had asked for a permanent screen that would be a device, that would be a roll-down screen from the ceiling, and we voted that down because we just do not want anything attached to that ceiling.
That ceiling, yes.
The ceiling's not even attached
I
to the
heard,
ceiling.
I hear that.
It's not even attached to the ceiling.
That makes sense to
so-
me.
I think you're right.
No,
Yeah.
it's not,
When
well, and not
I
to
saw
mention-
projector, I kind of thought, this is the new reality.
That was
flat screen.
a question I had,
We mentioned it in the commission meeting.
just a big screen.
well, that would be significantly more expensive though, right?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
This is the biggest category of deflation we've experienced in the past 30 years.
So you think it would be less expensive to have that than a projector?
Oh, yeah.
Think so?
Well, I think the price just.
With tariffs.
40%.
Yeah, the price did just go up.
Well, you just have to get it before that shipment's sold.
A Korean one would
I
still
am
be very
totally
cheap.
opposed to anything that's going to degrade
The historic,
the historic nature of that dining room.
yeah,
Whether it's something stuck in the corner,
yeah, it would take up a lot of space.
it'd take up a lot of
would be-
space and would not
Yeah,
fit in
yeah.
with the
It would
historic
be-
nature
It would
of
be
the building.
clumsy too, because we've got the 2 windows there, and it's just, I don't think it would be.
You mean a screen?
I don't think having
Yeah,
a
yeah.
TV
Right.
is appropriate
what I was asking.
for that.
Well, I mean,
space.
the beauty of this is you roll it into the kitchen, or you roll it somewhere else. But,
It'll,
so you're opposed to this?
I'm totally opposed to it.
To a TV?
To either
Fred said nay to the proposal.
What was the commission, did you guys come up with a?
Well, what we decided was that it was contingent upon whether there was a molding on the wall or not. And I really couldn't see well enough through the windows to determine whether there was, but it's something that's very simple to install. And so I have personally no problem with it. If it does exist, great. If it doesn't exist, we can install it.
Well,
The commission passed 3-1
Okay.
to the approval of the projector. That was one vote. The price was another motion.
Thanks for that.
So, I can't imagine it's urgent. Can we take, between now and the next meeting, to take a look in there, so that everybody kind of has a sense of whether there is molding, whether there's
Sure,
an easy solution?
absolutely.
I'd be curious, I didn't get a chance to look at what the specs of it were, how big a shelf, how much of an intrusion it would be into the room.
Sure,
I'd like to have a little bit more information about that.
Makes sense to me.
makes sense to me too.
So we'll.
And the second issue was whether or not the town would contribute to the purchase of this, which I was also against.
Yeah, he was proposing $375 for each. So that's $375 for the Mad River Path, for the Friends of the Mad River, for the Mad River Valley Planning District, and us.
And I'm sorry about if I don't understand the technology. Would a projector allow us to use that room for a Zoom meeting hooked up to a computer? We wouldn't have an owl.
Right, but yes, and the one he proposed, and Marissa, I'm gonna get rid of you again, but you can see the screen maybe. Is it down below?
Sure can't, but that's okay.
Basically, it includes these, so it's all wireless. So like they plug in, so then you just plug it in and then it's automatically showing your thing. But without an owl, then you can just see whoever's on the laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that one concern I did have that I'm no longer concerned about was that it wouldn't be an effective technology for this space, because if you don't have like blackout curtains, if it's underpowered in terms of how bright it is, you won't be able to see anything during the day. But it looks like this model is, and that's probably part of why it's as expensive as it is like it will be able to be used during the day, even if there's some light leak in the room.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I talked to him about it before. He said he definitely spent time making sure it would work for the room. Cause it's also like in an angle, it's a much better projector than the cheaper ones.
Well, and also, one of the commissioners had mentioned that if it makes the building more valuable to the community, that may be a good thing. That maybe we'll have more people who will want to rent the space.
I agree.
Because we definitely have conversations about like utilizing the assets of the community and making sure they're available. And that was the whole point of last month's, the rental agreement, I don't remember what it was called, the rental agreement for the General Way House, which we passed, Brian, a week ago. And that's part of, trying to make everything accessible to the community, which eventually we'll talk about in the work plan, getting up on the website.
Yeah, and I appreciate Fred's point about the historical preservation and balancing that, so I would love to take a look.
So let's table
As
it
we've-
until the next meeting.
Yep.
And that will give us a chance, like I have some ideas about funding it if you chose, I think there's a couple options, but we can then table that also.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Anne Marie raises a good point. If we do make the place, add value to it, and I don't, we have not responded, and full disclosure, I'm on the board of the Friends of the Mad River, but Ira, the executive director, did raise a concern about the high cost, that I think maybe disproportionately high cost for rent for the unheated open access space, and I wanted to just have that conversation again. Maybe we can put that on the agenda.
Oh, the connector space.
The connector space.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it without a heads up for folks who are interested.
Yeah, so you want me to add that agenda, that's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Okay, so we can move on
Yep.
from the Wade House?
Did you want to do the White House Commissioner while we're on the White House?
Yes, let's do that. I think I had said we're gonna put it later on the agenda, but let's, nobody here to.
I thought I left it on the table. Did I leave his?
What are you looking for?
I did not
This
see.
is an additional commissioner that's being added to the General White House Commission, is
Yeah, I
that?
left it on
I
the
never
table.
saw it.
No, I took it, okay.
Not those face down things? Those are yours?
These are all mine, yeah.
Ah, here it is, got it.
Good.
Okay, I have a letter of intention that I will read from Richard Bacchus. To the Select Board, my name is Richard Bacchus. I have lived in the valley all my life. In fact, I am 8 generations in the valley. I retired in January from my remodeling business. I have worked on many old buildings in the valley and in Stowe. I always enjoyed the challenge of bringing the old buildings back to life. As a kid, I remember going into the quote, old haunted house next to the school. I am glad to see the General's house is being preserved as one of the landmarks of the town. Thank you for your consideration, Richard Bacchus.
And I've known Richard forever and his family forever. He's a skilled carpenter and woodworker. He'd be an excellent addition to the commission to work with Gibb on repairing.
And he's actually doing some clapboard work now in
Yeah.
anticipation of painting.
Yeah, he's finished that, and it's just a superb job, so.
Yeah, it's done.
I know him a little bit. He was supposed to do work on my house, but he retired.
That,
Well,
And
it
so
is-
has Gib worked with him and
Yes,
Yes.
gives
yeah.
a thumbs up?
Yes.
yes.
Gib gave a thumbs up.
And
Great.
remind me.
That was my only question.
The parameters of the commission, how many, the minimum number of commissioners there are and the maximum?
Oh, okay. Ideally, we would have 3 commissioners on the short-term committee dealing with day-to-day stuff, and 3 commissioners on the long-term committee, and then a chair. So that's 7 total, and that's what's in the bylaws is 7 total. Currently, we only have Gibb, and then one of the tenants, the rotating tenants, will be on the short-term committee. So Richard fills that vacant spot for the short-term committee. On the long-term committee, we have V. Lynch, Kathy, and Fred. But we're looking for a replacement for Fred to balance that out. And then I'm the chair.
Cool, thank you for that explanation.
They're a wicked awesome.
Last question.
ahead.
Richard is not an officer in the Historical Society, is he?
He is not.
He is not. Okay, that was the only other thing in the bylaws that might have potentially been complex, but
Yes, and
sounds like
that's
it's not
one
an
of the
issue.
sticky things about having Fred now, is because we've got Fred and Kathy, they are both officers of the Historical Society. But we are diligently looking for someone to take Fred's place.
Fred's not busy, so
I'll so miss it.
So any further discussion? We put it to a vote? Motion to appoint Richard Bacchus to the
I would-
House Commission?
I would move to appoint Richard Bacchus to the General Wade House Commission.
Second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
right.
It's unanimous?
All right,
Huzzah.
Great.
I will say, we're very lucky to have him join us.
It's really cool.
very
He
lucky.
is,
That's what it sounds like.
he's very talented.
It's an awesome commission. Like I've gone to I think every meeting because it's just a pleasure.
Aw, thank you. Yeah, it is a really, I mean, we've got highly qualified people on this commission. It's really great.
You clearly really care, and that's definitely evident.
And we have an exciting house tour that, let me just state that we're combining 4 things. It's going to, June 29th, it's going to start with the unveiling of the new sign of entering Waitsfield. The sign will say chartered instead of settled because it's an earlier date. So the day is going to begin with Fred unveiling the new sign.
Oh wow.
And then we're going to have the announcement of Kathy Mahuron's new book. She's launching their 3rd volume of Take Me Back, the Mad River Valley, the history of the Mad River Valley. And then we're having a historic house tour from 2:30 until well, 2 o'clock until 4:30. And it's primarily buildings on Bridge Street to start for our first year. It's going to be an annual thing. Then from 4:30 to 6:30, we're having a cocktail party that will have a silent auction and a, maybe even an auction.
Cool.
What day is that?
June 29th.
Right.
Oh, and one other thing is, we would like to put together a resolution to the town to create June 29th to be the official settlement day. So that every year on June 29th, we'll celebrate Settlement Day for Waitsfield. So that's going to come down the pike, that we will present. I think it's something that will probably have to go through town meeting day. But that's our long-term goal.
The resolution can be passed by the select board.
Oh, the resolution can be
Yeah, I would
passed?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be seeing with us between now and then a resolution to create June 29th as our official settlement day.
Great.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
Anne
you.
Marie.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Thank
So
you.
the next item, and I did not see any background in the packet about liquor tobacco approval process.
Any background? Oh, of what the current is?
Or, yeah, just what the issue is.
I mean, the only, so, here, I'll put it up, but it's in the packet.
So my
The issue-
understanding was that we had historically, the select board has for a long time required first-time applicants to appear before the board, and then to required renewals for the second and the third year. And we discussed at one point that maybe that was unnecessary, and that asking them to come back just for the first renewal might be adequate, and not requiring them to come back for 2 renewals unless there's some notice of violation, from liquor control, there had been some problem, but otherwise just doing the 1 renewal to make it easier for them, because we typically say, have there been any problems, are you all trained? They say yes. I think Department of Liquor Control does a pretty good job of enforcing their licenses. So, but I know you had drafted.
I had well, it's right there, it's in the packet.
I didn't see it in the packet.
It's in the packet, it's on
It is.
page
Right after
32
the
of
last
57.
projector attachment.
They're in order of the agenda.
I didn't see
So essentially, this is exactly what it says. I mean, I couldn't find real exact
sorry,
writing.
you're right.
No,
It is
so
in
I couldn't
fact.
find exact writing of what you just described. And you had mentioned that maybe we should change it. So basically, I put, I think everything that you just said actually, just into a written policy.
You're right,
So,
and I
there's
don't
certain,
know where it was last time.
no, I mean, I need to figure out
page.
page numbers and make it easier to navigate, and that is important, because it's too hard to navigate, the meeting packets. So with the ones that we already include, because there's some that we can't, approve, but
Yeah.
these are the ones we approve. As stated, a mandatory first appearance, second renewal, the mandatory select board appearance at a warrant public meeting. But after that, it would just be on the warrant like the other one we have tonight. With a few caveats, like you said, no violations were reported to DLL in the previous 12 months, in which case then they'd have to come before the select board. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
And I think the inclusion of special circumstances, so that if there is, majority of folks who have a non-explicitly described concern, that there's still an opportunity to amend in future if needed.
Yeah, I tried to
Looks good to me.
check the law and check with VLCT, and so I actually spent a little time trying to come together with a policy that was pretty comprehensive. It doesn't mean we can't change, or you can't edit any of this. Like at first I had put one just the first time, and you wanted the second, so we added the first renewal.
Okay.
So that's the policy.
Practical question on the DLL violation reporting. Do you get those?
They-
Who-
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
go
How
to-
do we know if there's
They
an
go to the
issue?
clerk.
Okay.
Jennifer would know.
And
And
she
Jen
lets
and I
us
have-
know if there's.
And Jen and I have talked about a system to make sure it's in place so that we have a system in place.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep,
Okay, good.
and that did not, Jen had no problem with that.
This is great, thank you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Do we want to go ahead and adopt it?
It's, I mean, unless you wanna make any changes.
Where did the petition of 25 neighboring residents?
Number 5, special circumstances.
Can we just change that to Waitsfield residents?
Yeah, I was wondering who verified whether they're neighboring.
Yeah.
Oh. That was wording I found somewhere and I can't quite
Just,
recollect where it came from.
Then it's like,
Well,
are
so
you a neighbor or are you not?
Okay.
Well, but if it's Waitsfield resident, does that mean that they have to be somebody who votes in Waitsfield, or, because, I mean, for like second homeowners or
Well,
people who own businesses who,
Waitsfield resident legally is, or to be a voter here, you have to be a resident.
right, no, I know, I'm just saying that, saying neighboring residents would mean that like somebody who owns a business who doesn't live here or live in Waitsfield,
I would want to.
who is neighboring.
Or a
I see what you're saying.
visitor, or a second homeowner, whatever. Those would be exceptions to resident.
That's 10 more people than we had to get for our signatures to run for select board. So
Yeah,
it seems like,
I think-
it seems like it's a high enough number.
I think it's rated too high.
I would almost strike that whole thing, because if we had one person that would had a concern, I'd want to hear about it.
You'd want to hear about it, or you'd want to like call whoever they're complaining about in front of the board.
Yeah, I think, because we could just hear about it if someone.
If someone is
touches us.
concerned,
Why don't we strike that and say majority vote by the select board, e.g. public safety concerns, complaints by neighbors, or neighboring property owners or residents. And just so if we're getting complaints or we're hearing complaints, we can vote to.
Yeah, so take out that line and say, and have that be a reason for us to
why does
vote
it-
on discretionary review.
Yeah.
why does it have to be a neighbor? Why couldn't it be any resident of Waitsfield?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't think it has.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my actual document so I can write it in that.
If it's, in Irisville and it's everybody up on Post Office Road in Facein, I'd be open to that too. So I just say-
So just community complaints as a factor to
Yeah.
have the majority vote of the select board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think.
Actually, I can just look back at the minutes. Okay.
So.
Yeah, you're basically
motion-
just putting community complaints in that parentheses.
yeah,
E.g. public safety concerns,
comma,
community complaints,
Yeah.
and then strike the second bullet point.
Yeah,
With those amendments, I would move to adopt this policy.
second,
Second.
discussion?
And the policy is the Waitsfield Select Board Liquor and Tobacco License Review Policy,
Yep.
sorry.
Yes. All in favor? And Wesley, we're not seeing you.
Oh,
so
sorry,
you're
let me
raising-
bring you back.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
I
okay.
had
There
the
you go.
policy
All
pulled
right,
up.
you're back. So all in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
So I will change that, and if it's okay, then I'll maybe just send it back out. And
Sure.
make sure, even if you just want me to send it to you and say, yep, that's what we intended before
Yeah,
I
that's fine.
post it.
Okay.
Great. And post it, that's on the website or
I don't know,
or
that's up to you guys.
or elsewhere. I don't actually know what needs to happen if we've changed the policy.
I
So-
mean, my goal's been to put all policies on the website.
Right.
I think it's good
Cool.
policy.
If
So if you
Vin-
want me to add it to the policy tab, then I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be great.
Just for discussion, I'd like to see all policies and ordinances
Yeah.
on the website.
And I've added several, actually.
Do we have Miles here?
He has not responded to my emails.
Okay.
So maybe I'll just call him this week.
Yeah, I mean, do we know, has he, he's
The re-
completed the accident repair.
Correct.
He hasn't done the additional work he was gonna do, right?
I don't know what additional work was he gonna do.
Yeah, there was some
He did the whole
structural.
roof.
It was two parts.
Okay.
One was to correct from the accident.
That was
roof
the
and
big
everything.
one.
That was the big one. And then while he was doing the inspection, he found some deterioration near one of the abutments or something, or something was not done properly.
And that was like a $12,000.
That's right, and we voted to have him do that work.
So you can follow up with them.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that until right now, so, okay, that's good to know.
And then the second item on the covered bridge is whether we would like to purchase a banner in celebration of Covered Bridge Week. Did everybody get a chance to look at that?
I didn't realize there was a banner involved. I knew that there was an opportunity to join the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, but I
It's $80
Okay.
for the banner.
And $15 for the membership,
Membership.
right?
95 all in.
annually.
It's, yeah, I mean, my understanding, it's something that the Covered Bridge Association's, trying to get support through all the towns and then.
Well, I'm fine with you exercising your discretion if you want to think the town should join the, I don't know that, I'm kind of agnostic about the banner. I just don't know that we want to, I certainly don't want to hang it from the covered bridge. And putting it up in Irisville with the other banners kind of competes with the community organizations and.
Yeah, where would the banner go?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if, I agree, if it can't go somewhere that looks classy, near the bridge, the Great Eddy Bridge, then
Melissa?
sorry.
Yeah, I think that joining the Covered Bridge Society is a great idea. I'm similarly sort of, I would want to know, let's see, 10-foot by 2-foot high quality heavy duty vinyl banner with Epson resin ink, which says celebrating Covered Bridge Week in Vermont. I mean, I don't feel a particular need to
No, and I don't.
hang a banner on the
feel
bridge.
need to ask
I don't know.
Or the road crew or anybody else to go out and spend their time hanging a banner and taking it down.
Yeah, that's the other bit. I mean, I think that joining the Covered Bridge Society is probably a good idea. It's something that has a number of members in both US and Canada, and I feel like anything that we can do that's in partnership with Canada right now.
If you remember,
No,
Miles is a member of he's an officer in this group.
That was the other reason I actually reached out to him, because he's the one that told me about the one city, and one of you may know, town, I don't remember who did it, that was installing a
headache bar.
arcade type, what's it called, Larissa?
Like a headache bar, I think is one of the things that it's been called.
And they were doing it, even preemptively before, because there were some liability concerns. So that's the other reason I reached out to see what was going on, and if they installed it and what it looked like, and if some of those concerns have been addressed now that it's up, just so we could report.
When you said they installed it, you mean did the Covered Bridge Society install, or who's they?
The town.
Okay.
So we can just move
But-
on, we don't need to
Yep.
vote it down.
That's
It's just, we're agreeing not to vote to buy a banner.
But to join the society,
Yeah, I'll do that this week, that's fine.
I think York's
or
gonna
whatever
do
they
that.
call themselves.
Yeah.
And if you wanna do more, like, where would a banner go and how much work would it take, but I think I'm fine either way.
Yeah.
Yes, I moved on beyond the banner. Next item, dental insurance rate changes. That's just informational for us?
Jen wanted me to bring it to you guys, and I pulled it up just to erase it with Larissa for a minute. It's just, I think she partially said that it also would be the opportunity to say, you know what, we wanna add orthodontic, that was her example. So, yeah, I mean, so I added it for, you to see. I mean, it went up, I think like $1.18 or something, in July 1st, which, the budget covers.
We did, I'm pretty sure we put in like a 10% increase
Okay.
for this.
Yeah, I mean, our budget should accommodate it,
Yeah.
even if everyone joined, I think we have enough in the budget. And right now, we do not have everyone that's using the policy.
Yeah. So, there's no action required?
Nope.
No, if Jen wants to make a proposal for expanding coverage, that we would need to have that conversation and more information, but
Okay.
at this point, we're not ready to deal with that.
Okay.
Cemetery metal detection request. So,
I'm not very familiar with it, and Robin called me today.
okay.
And they're meeting tomorrow, or Thursday, I don't have my calendar, and I may join them. Essentially, my understanding is, and I don't wanna mess up, so I'll just read it. Unauthorized metal detecting in town cemeteries, it's prohibited, however, there's no local enforcement. The commission would like to have the select board consider whether an ordinance is warranted. And that's essentially what the email said.
And this is in the packet, right?
Yep. I mean, it's just, the only thing I put in the packet was what the email said under the town administrator report.
Oh, okay.
Right underneath roofing the barn consideration.
I need to know who, I think the cemetery commission, they have rules for the cemetery. I mean, she says that it's prohibited, I assume that's through the cemetery commission's rules, I don't know.
I don't know where it's coming from, but she
Where?
says there's no, where.
I'm not sure if we passed an ordinance, there'd be any enforcement.
Those rules lack formal enforcement. So I don't know what that enforcement would look like, I've done no research on best practice, if it's doable. Sorry.
If there was going to be an ordinance, I mean, we'd have to decide what enforcement looks like, and that would be a matter of committing a person to basically writing a ticket, sounds like, and showing up in court.
Well,
And,
from my experience, that does not work,
Yeah,
flat out. Because writing a ticket, just getting authorized so that you can write a ticket is
it's the
cumbersome.
whole thing.
And then if it isn't written just right, the judge will throw it out. What has worked best in the past, with our problems with the dogs and all, was a couple of letters to the offender from the select board. Having failed that, requesting them to appear before the select board to explain themselves. And that has worked as well as anything.
yeah, but that's, how widespread is this problem? I guess I'd want more information from the cemetery.
Yeah,
commission
same.
about really how big of a deal this is. What are they?
And do people know that it's not allowed? Are there rules that are posted? I honestly haven't actually seen, I haven't explored the cemeteries very much, so I don't know.
The only sign that they have posted in the cemeteries, and I don't know if it's in all of them, is no dogs allowed.
Okay, so I feel like this might be a matter of communication first before, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Similarly, I don't know what the problem is. Maybe we need to find out more.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I responded to email and said, I'm happy to put the select board, and their response was her calling me today and just saying, please let me know what the select board knows, or what the select board says. And, yeah, so lack of communication may be as much of a problem as anything.
Because I do know that I'm not sure how much with the sort of drawing parallels with dog related things. I do think that the very clear signage about dogs and that's been, I think, helpful in sort of communicating what the rules are consistently.
Agreed.
Well, I think
that's a good point. If I went into a cemetery and I really loved metal detecting and I didn't see a sign, I'd be like, this is a great place to use my metal detector. So, I mean, realistically, I can appreciate that, if I didn't know.
Maybe we ought to recommend to them to come up with signage, listing the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any signs in any of the cemeteries.
Yeah, I think scope of the problem, we'd love to know more about, and potential for communicating not to do that, and how that would work.
And, I mean, they're not, I don't know. Just wondering
Yeah.
what they're doing in the cemetery. I mean, these things don't go 6 feet down, so I hope they're not digging too deep.
Well, that'd be it, they're disturbing the grade.
I don't think that's been a problem.
Well, just disrespectful if you start digging on top of
Yes.
someone's grave to
Yeah.
pick up a horseshoe, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
not,
no, that's
it's
more
not,
information.
it's
That's
not
enough,
kosher.
that's enough for me to go to Robin.
It's not really
Okay.
good when you're digging around in the,
No, I agree.
Scope of problem and then,
respectful.
yeah.
It's a matter
Okay.
of respect.
So we can move on to the road crew sand bid. Any additional information? I know that Josh was hoping for additional bids.
Yep, and we talked, I actually did not look at the, it's been really busy.
Our budget for sand was, if this is the $42,000 bid, our budget was over 70.
Huh, well, that was the only real concern. I mean, he definitely is anxious about moving forward with this, cause
Yeah.
time's really of the essence. And so if this fits in that, then he's very happy. And that should be the entire bid in terms of the cost of the sand and the moving of the sand.
Yeah, our line item for sand, we bumped it from 68 to 75. So this seems to be, I was surprised at how low it was. So he's good with this.
Yeah, I think he was fine with it, he's excited to move forward.
Okay. Any questions?
We're not required to get other bids.
We
No.
put it out to bid.
Yeah, we put out to bid for the, and I actually,
Need to review our-
I added a week in the paper because we only got one, and so it was within the allotted time for the RFP. And so I reached back out to the paper and said, could you reprint it?
And procurement policy is something that needs to be on our
Yeah,
agenda. Yeah,
There's so many things on our agenda,
Yeah.
and that is one of them.
I think, might rise above some other things.
The procurement,
Yeah.
yeah, that's up to you guys.
Um,
Let me get Larissa back. I
But
keep
assuming
getting
this
rid of
meets
this.
our current procurement assuming this meets our current.
It does.
Yes.
Procurement policy, then, I guess I would make.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is there's fewer and fewer vendors.
Yep.
We've lost, one of our sources of crushed gravel has gone away, which is a big deal for central Vermont towns. So I just don't think we're getting as many.
I also posted this on the BLCT website, which is free for 2 weeks, so it was posted there. And Josh was gonna send it out to contractors, and this is all we got, Nick.
So we have
I think,
a
I
pretty
mean-
comprehensive list of the contractors providing towns and. North
Josh
Central
said he
Vermont?
was doing that.
Okay.
So I, like the other RFPs I sent out to multiple organizations, this I did not.
So any discussion, a motion to accept the bid?
I would so move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
V-Trans Better Roads Program, review and consider submitting category A letter of intent.
This is,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, I think I described it, and that's just if that makes it easier. But essentially, this is the law, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And I was a
Yeah.
little confused, so I reached back out to them, and I did not put my tongue in the paper, I put it somewhere. But it's in the packet. This is the first step that we have to do. So, and there is gonna be a cost to this. About 80% of it comes back to us, but that's the next step. I think this is from Keith Cuban.
Where are we? Sorry, I know there's not numbers, but,
It's almost to the end.
the letter of
It's right-
intent.
It's right below where we were, right here, if you wanna look up on the screen, letter of intent to participate, better growth category.
So basically,
Oh, I see.
we're required
Yep, I got
to
it.
do this inventory.
yep,
That costs money, and they have a grant program. They have a couple of grant opportunities to help pay for the thing that they're requiring us to do, is my understanding at least.
and is this the same thing that we were needed to pay, or is, That was something else.
that I sent an email out from the municipal road general permit roundtable. Yes, this is one of the action items from that.
Okay.
One of them, there's a couple, but yes.
Well, if this is step one, I would move that we do it.
Well,
And I know, yeah, go ahead. I don't remember who has to sign it. It may just be the clerk, and I think the chair has to sign it, if I remember correctly, but. Yeah, go ahead, sorry, Fred.
so what is the estimated cost to the town?
I have no idea.
Well, then we shouldn't sign it.
Well, signing it is just the first step, it's not a grant, it's not a commitment. It says very clearly on.
Yeah,
It
it's
does
the
say
first
that,
step.
that's right.
It's not a commitment, so we can, it just puts us in the queue. We did budget last year, $10,000
Or,
for the inventory, which we.
So I think part of it is basically employees or volunteers taking the time to go and physically walk around on these roads and determine whether or not they meet certain standards in the, and I'm not sure how, we'd probably need to ask Josh about how much time it would take potentially, because I think it's partially paying for the time that it takes to do that.
And there are probably firms or resources that would help us.
Yeah, and they will take in-kind contributions as part of the match. So basically, if there are volunteers in like Stewart MRV or, somebody who wants to spend time doing this and track that time, that can be considered part of our match.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, it's clear, the funding is for 80% of the cost of the updating, which, of the municipal REI, which is required every 5 years. And all they say is, please fill this out and submit to the grants and aid staff to secure your town's funding.
And our last one was 5 years ago?
I think everyone must be on the same calendar, because they sent this to a bunch of municipalities.
Yeah, this is all the water quality legislation.
Yep.
And that was
Like
like 6 or
phosphorus.
7 years ago. Yeah, phosphorus reduction. So you made a motion to sign it, Fred. It's not obligating any funds at this point. We'll have to make that decision once we figure out what the cost is. Did the original planning commission do the last one?
I do not know.
Okay.
and I don't know where you're getting 80%, York, because it says here, provide a minimum of 20% local match. Oh, that'd be our local.
Yeah, so they pay
Okay.
80%. And I actually made a document, which I didn't include, I guess because we weren't at that point, so I intentionally didn't include it. Which I'm happy to share. Basically, I did a little research on what we have to do. It's just a 1.5 page document, but it's again the next step.
But right now,
The
our-
town must reassess all hydrologically connected road segments. These are roads that drain directly into surface water, such as streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and wetlands. This reassessment is required under the municipal roads general permit effective January 26, 2023.
but right now, our choice is saying, no thanks, we don't want any help, we'll do it ourselves, or yes, please, we'd like to potentially pursue some help.
I mean, if we don't,
Exactly.
if we don't do this, and they're like, but you have to do it, now you lost your 80%,
Right.
then
That's why.
we'd be in trouble, I think.
We'd be in violation of the general permit.
I think so, yeah.
Well, isn't that special?
I mean, add to the list.
So again, have a second?
I would make that motion again.
Is there a second?
I would second.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
It's unanimous reluctantly.
I think we have like a year and a half plus for this to be
Yeah.
done. It may be October 2027.
I think we have a while to get it done. I do think that the funds that are available as part of the Better Roads program for this particular category are first come, first served, so there is an advantage to us putting a letter of intent in sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Luckily, we passed it, so.
Tree board items. This is This is a big topic that we've touched on in the past.
I added a little bit to it today. There's in the town administrator report. Because I got more information. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So what is this?
This is summarizing the Whitney tree service of the trees that they actually want to do and the new costs. And we're not talking to Ash Board, this is about, so essentially Charlie says he's on the road, the tree board, and he gets.
This is Charlie Hosford.
Thank you,
right?
was that Charlie Hosford?
Okay, thanks.
And I did put it in the town administrator report, but yes, out loud. Charlie Hosford, on the tree board, says he gets calls sometimes, so like, this road is in your right of way, this tree is in your right of way, and it's dead, it's falling, da-da-da. So, and he's like, that now becomes our liability. All these trees listed in the new update, sorry, I got these just today, Larissa. And it's a long list of trees. These are the ones that they recommend. I asked Charlie Hosford if it seemed like too much money, if we could say, oh,
they recommend, who is they?
Adam Whitney.
Who is they? Adam Whitney, okay.
Yeah, and that's in the town administrator report. He's the arborist in town. So he.
Okay, he is an arborist, I didn't know that was who weighed in. Okay.
He did the street, and the tree board would think it'd be advantageous to do this before it was paved. The cost for a full day with 3 people, not counting traffic control, is $4,650. And I don't, if you want to do this, I don't know, we technically do have money in street trees, just barely enough. Steve, our treasurer, I think made an interesting point that he's like, to him, this seems like just part of the paving project. Which just in terms of if you frame it that way, I think that's a nice way to frame it. I did talk to Josh today, the road foreman, and he's happy to organize with him and do the traffic control, which is amazing. Not only that, he's happy to have the chipper there and really take part in the process to alleviate some of the
But
work
even though
for
it's
Whitney.
conceptually part of the road project,
That's different.
This is our.
That's the ash borer.
Oh,
So the
that's-
tree
okay.
update is,
I see.
if you look at where.
Okay, cool, I got it.
And sorry, like I said, if the one that Fred has, that's the updated one, because I
Yeah,
just got
this
those numbers today. Or the names of all the trees.
Yeah, okay, that's the old.
That's why I was confused. I thought we were talking about the Emerald Ash Borer. So
No,
continue.
the first thing is East Warren Road. And I think that's as written on the administrative report, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I did the agenda and the town administrator, the meeting packet, they had not done the tour of East Warren Road. They did that Saturday morning.
Okay.
And we got the invoice today, and I actually included the invoice in the warrant if you are so
The
inclined.
invoice.
He already basically sent an invoice.
It's for $4,650,
Yeah.
which is,
It's pretty good.
it's pretty good.
The price is crazy good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we do have money in the street tree reserve, and we do have the invasives reserve, which we should have enough money to cover this, because we've been earmarking 2,500 of the 10,000 for at least 2 years for emerald ash borer. But this isn't emerald ash borer, but it's street trees, we can,
If you want to use the street tree funds, I think there's 5,000 in street trees.
there's 20,000.
Oh, there's 20,000 in street
Yeah.
trees? Oh, wow, that's, okay,
There will be with the $5,000 that we are putting in this year.
okay.
So yeah, this is an incredible good deal, and if push came to shove, maybe, as Steve said, it would be appropriate to take it out of the paving reserve, because it is part of the paving project.
Yeah, and I think that was, I appreciate that. I think
In which we have gotten a pretty good deal on paving lately.
That's, yes.
That'd be great.
And Charlie and I Charlie Hosford talked about that. And yeah, like I said, Adam Whitney and Charlie Hosford both agreed that these actually really need to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'd welcome a motion to accept the proposal for $4,650, not including traffic control, which will be provided by town crew.
That's, Josh said he can do it.
Okay.
And discussion or
Yeah.
just clarification, where would the money come out of? Because I think that was a question we were just wrestling with.
Paving.
I like the idea of making it part of the paving project, because we've got a,
I think
Because a
with the
follow-
ash, with the ash borer problem, it's probably a good idea. If that.
yeah, and the street trees, we're gonna be dealing with ash borers. A lot of the, our mature street trees are ash trees, so we're gonna need to put money into new trees in the village.
So I
So-
would make that motion to accept this proposal and have the money come out of the paving reserve.
Cause, and this is all just East Warren Road.
That's correct.
Okay.
And actually just one half of East Warren Road, the other, one side. The other side is at the power lines, and the Green Mountain
They take
Power
care of
has done a pretty good job.
Right.
Josh even said a couple times, he's like, you guys need to take care of the tree, and they're pretty responsive.
Okay,
Okay, do I have a second?
is there a second?
I would second.
Discussion?
I would second.
Discussion?
Discussion?
Yeah?
We ought to instruct them to, or one of our committees, to come up with a plan for removal of the ash trees.
That's the next,
Because-
I agree.
If you watch WCAX News, just yesterday, they had a spot on how the ash borer is going straight through the whole state, and they mentioned by town, everything around Waitsfield.
Yeah, I heard Waterbury recently.
Yeah, and ash is going for a good price at the mill. So if there's any ash trees of log quality, we can sell them if that's appropriate.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think, and you can't tell that the ash tree is diseased until it's dead.
Until it's too late, yeah.
And then to have it removed, it's an extra cost. Hazard tree removal costs a lot more than removing a live tree.
Because it shatters.
It's very dangerous for them.
And there's
Yeah.
5 in front of the elementary school.
Yeah.
So that's a different topic though, so let's
But-
have a vote on this.
But you're saying in this proposal to tell them,
No, let's
No,
not do
okay.
that. That's
Okay,
just,
okay,
but let's not forget.
no.
We're
That's
gonna
my
do it right
opinion.
after this, the ash borer trees.
So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Me.
So, the tree board, which is Charlie Hosford and Vince Gocchio,
Correct.
did put in a proposal for using ARPA money for emerald ash borer removal. We have an inventory of emerald ash borer, of ash trees in the town properties, town rights of way and town property, it's about 2,000 of them. We did not have a plan from the tree board about how they were gonna go about setting priorities, how they're gonna set, which Charlie has started to put together. We need to act on it. I don't think, I'm concerned we're not ready to allocate money. We don't have a budgeted line item except for a small amount in the invasives reserve. I think that we will soon know what our, what is the term we were using? Our unallocated balance is at the
Yeah.
end of the year. And I guess I'd rather hold off on this and try to come up with the money, explore grants. There were some Forest Parks and Recreation ash borer grant programs, but they required a plan, not just an inventory, and we didn't have the plan in order to meet that criteria.
I think the majority of my goal for this was to be able to say,
Yes.
can I move forward with the tree board, with coming up with some ideas, with a plan, with the process, look for grants. I mean, honestly, over half the cost of what this is gonna cost-ish is planting a new tree. And I was like, I mean, if we can get a sponsor for half the trees, where you could put a little plaque and someone sponsors a new tree in front of the elementary school, that could take the $25,000 price tag to $15,000. If we can sell some ash, then it takes it down another $5,000. So just
And
looking
there is
into
a,
what we can do.
almost all of the trees that were planted in the right of way were either the sidewalk project or street tree grants that we got through the community urban forestry program.
Oh.
So there's a history of that. So I think we don't have the information, as you said, York, but this is a good starting point to make sure we have the information and act on it.
I would like to see a rather formalized plan.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
And people are gonna.
Are they in consultation with Adam Whitney or somebody on that? I don't know if that's a necessary part of this or no.
No, I don't think so. I think he's talked to, Charlie Hosford's talked to people in the past, but no,
Yes.
he's not. No, and I didn't have time to do more than that, but Charlie really wanted it brought to the select board, which I think was a great idea, because towns are, I think Adam Whitney actually right now is doing this amount Montpelier, he's doing 8,000 trees or something.
Yeah, and there are other tree folks in town, so I think when we have a plan, we should put that out to bid. It's larger. I don't mind going ahead, what we just did with Adam. It's within our procurement standards to do sole source at that price. It's a great deal. We need to do it fast, but I do want to give other folks a chance.
Charlie thinks that the other arborist, at least in terms of arborists in town, is no longer in business.
That would be Potter.
Yeah, he
Yep.
said he's no longer in business.
I
He
would-
gave more of a story, but.
I would advocate getting a forester to help write this plan. I was
Is
talking,
the sorry, go ahead.
I was talking with Mike Brown, he's on the Moortown Select Board, and he's a forester, and he's doing a timber harvest for me, and we're taking out every ash tree we can find. Plus other timber that's now ready to be harvested. Spoke with him at length.
To see if there's anything of value.
See if there's anything in value, and also help whoever's writing this plan, tree board, to guide their thoughts.
And we have foresters, I think, on the
Yeah,
Conservation
I'd be
Commission.
great to ask the Conservation Commission, who
That was gonna be my, yeah.
Yeah.
is very focused on other invasives, but emerald ash borer is an invasive as well.
Well, and it is on kind of their agenda, they just are really focused on other things right now,
Yeah.
but they talk about it,
Yeah,
they just haven't done much.
yeah,
So
I
they
think
need-
having Chris Loomis and Leo weigh in would be welcome, at a
Yes.
minimum.
Yes,
Am I okay, is it okay for me to
Yes.
reach out to the conservation?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say this is sort of an urgent type of thing,
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree.
because if all of a sudden we find, you can't tell a tree that is diseased or even dying until they're dead, and then it's a huge cost to have them removed.
yeah.
And
So just looking at it, it looks fine, but it could
Yes, I would
be
just,
disease.
so he's written, several pages here, handwritten,
I know.
that of basically a lot of these things that we're discussing, and so I'm just trying to put more formally what we're looking for as a plan versus this that
Yeah.
has already been done,
Good work.
which has, yeah, good work, but
Yeah, we didn't have this much information when they made the request to the ARPA committee, who passed on it.
okay, so this is a copy of,
No, this is
Or-
new.
this is
And
new.
we didn't
Okay.
have this much detail 2 years ago, when we were going through the ARPA money.
And part of their plan, I would think, should include public outreach.
Yes.
So people know that ash trees on or near their property are gonna be cut,
That's a good point.
When all those trees in front of the elementary school are cut, we're gonna hear about it.
most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, but to Charlie Hosford's point, I guess somewhere near the Von Trapp farm, there's just a huge line of big ash trees, and
It's an uncommon
I'm not
area.
sure where, but he's like, it's a huge line, like double line, and you can, and he's like, yeah, if you cut all those down, people would really notice,
Yeah.
but they're gonna come down
But
eventually,
we
there's
have
no
to.
choice.
Yeah. So
So-
part of their plan should be a public outreach.
I agree, it's really
So-
smart.
just to be clear, basically get this information in a typed plan, consult with the Conservation Commission and a forester or an arborist, is that what we're asking?
Yeah, that's, that's what I have down.
Yeah, I'd start with the Conservation Commission, we have two foresters on there.
Okay.
They know the problem.
Okay, is that good? I
Yes.
think I know how to.
Let's get a
move forward with
plan.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, good, good.
So, moving on, work plan review, not as much progress was made in April. April was not the easiest time for the select board.
And I just saw your email, Larissa, so.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Haven't got a chance to look at it yet, but,
That was my fault for not getting that to everyone sooner. It's basically, I looked at a couple of different options for kind of free or cheap project management or similar software, and found kind of there were a couple of features that are implemented in different ways, but that seem to be a common, a common thread that I think would be useful in whatever we end up deciding to use, even if it's kind of going back to Google Sheets, but just doing it slightly differently.
I already made
And that's
an account.
basically,
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I actually, a couple weeks ago, made an account and played around with Trello and a couple others. So if you
Yeah.
choose to use Trello, that one is already kind of started, actually.
okay. Yeah, so basically having the ability to kind of have subtasks that, because part of what was so overwhelming, I think, about the way that the work plan was previously formatted was that there wasn't a clear way to have sort of subtasks within an overarching broader task, for one, and then also the notes that sort of detailed what was happening just took up so much space in the spreadsheet that then it wasn't visually efficient, and it was a little bit overwhelming for me, at least. I can't speak for other folks.
Me too.
And then there also wasn't any place for there to be like a due date. So priority and urgency were kind of, from what I could tell, at least being treated as the same thing. And I think that those are perhaps two different variables that would be a helpful way to prioritize how we're working on things. So that's a much more macro level overview than I think we're hoping to get to in the not too distant future. But I have a running list of things that people have said they want to have added once we have some sort of system in place. Yeah, that's all I got right now.
Do you have any suggestions for next steps?
I think sort of adapting the existing list to a system of choice. If you've played with Trello and that kind of makes sense to you.
No, I don't care. I don't
Ish.
have a priority, a preference.
I'm fine with whatever you think.
What did you like?
Is
Well, but here's the thing, though, is that I feel like the person who is going to be interacting with this the most is probably you, York, and so not to just sort of like bounce it back at you, but I want to make sure that it like makes intuitive sense for you and doesn't feel like an overly cumbersome process, because I recognize that adopting a new system is a step in and of itself, and that takes time. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
yeah.
We'll be reviewing and kind of monitoring it, but you will be in the weeds with it, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I
Well, Larissa, I'll look at it, but if you even want to like, one day you jump in, we'll look at them closer. There were a couple others I kind of looked at. And then just figure out what makes sense for what we're looking at doing. Together we'll have an idea of like, oh, will this do this well, will this do that well, whatever.
Yeah.
I can do that whenever you want.
So I think in addition, Brian, to your point as to what next steps are, I think next steps are one, York and me looking at what system we're using. And then the second one is, even if we're trying to get that list sort of put into a different system, compiling all of these little mini lists that folks have of things that they'd like to see addressed and bring that to the table at the next meeting. I think we could probably, just on an ad hoc basis today, identify if there's something that, like, there's a deadline between now and then that we want to make sure gets met. I don't know if there's anything specific. I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head.
Well, we did
But then sort of-
have a sewer update, wastewater update, tentatively on this meeting agenda. Josh wasn't able to make it.
Well, we chose to move it.
You chose, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And
But I'm mentioning that because I think remains a priority.
Yeah.
yeah, and there is a wastewater update tonight,
Oh,
which I'm giving, just because things happen today.
okay.
And so I added it, and because time, well, we'll get to it,
Yeah, okay.
but yes.
So perhaps I can create a shared list that people can add things to or email me to add them to, and then we can consider those within the context of whatever system we land on. York
Okay.
and myself or whoever. Does that sound
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, there's a number of things that individual members have all said, we really want to take care of this, that have fallen through the cracks over the last year without
Yeah.
staff.
I mean, there's a lot going on. It's hard to keep it all straight, honestly.
So
Yeah.
the system to keep it all straight is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's where like, I mean, I just stay busy.
Yeah.
Doing what I'm like, well, we talked about the liquor license, I'm just gonna come with policy. And there's things on the personnel policy, which we'll talk later. Well, it maybe is a beginning conversation during the executive session. So things are coming to our plate constantly.
Totally. And I think
And some are, things I'm like, these need to be addressed, and some will be more for you to say, these need to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think my goal, and I think all of our goals, is to not have things that we say, oh, we needed to have this done yesterday.
Yeah.
And because that's stressful and usually results in worse work product and, that's my overall goal, is to be able to be like, okay, we have a liquor policy, we don't really, like, that probably is down here, what is really up here for like the next week, 2, 3, 4, and I think.
And that provides you with cover. You don't have to answer to everybody in town who
Exactly.
has an emergency.
Exactly.
What?
You can say, that's not on my tier A.
Can I do that?
Yes, you can.
Yes, and I think that's
Not
part of the goal.
Normally you can, but you probably should.
Yeah, well, so far,
I'll get back to you on that.
I try to make people happy, I don't know.
So,
Right.
Marissa, you think at the next meeting, we'll have this on the agenda and maybe a roughed out consolidation of the list of?
I think that is an achievable goal.
Okay.
And I'll be back in Knoxville at least part of next week, maybe most of next week for my daughter's graduation from high school. Which honestly, it's really nice going back there because I can sit down and totally focus on work. Like that's how that one grant, the second grant, I was in Knoxville, and it really made that grant a lot easier. There were almost no distractions.
So then, York, maybe you and I can do this long distance because I'm not in town this week.
That's fine.
I have obligations in Providence.
No, that's great.
This week.
Yeah,
So,
if that's okay with you.
but we'll find a time to do things remotely.
So if that's, what I'm hearing is a big part of preparing for the next meeting will have a work plan more suitable to what we're talking about.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's
roughed
great.
out.
I love that.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, is there anything between now and then that we know absolutely has to be addressed because by next meeting it'll be too late?
No, I mean, everything's in the town admin report that's more time sensitive. And we'll talk about the personnel policy maybe later.
Yeah.
I just got an email tonight, but I haven't opened it yet. Apparently we never did. ARPA, like the probably
The reporting?
Reporting, maybe? I haven't opened it. It was
Yeah.
like, it came through like the beginning of the GWH commission.
We followed the direction of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns pretty carefully.
So I haven't, like I said, I haven't opened the email, but it's very possible that's gonna be on the top agenda. There's also something else that was due in December, that was not done, and I can't remember exactly what it is. It's some grant portal. They
Was
gave
it
me-
V-Trans?
Yes, I think so. They gave me an extension, and so that's gonna be on my to-do list, cause it has to be now, in the next
That
couple
was
weeks.
V-Trans, yeah.
Yeah, I think years or something, yeah.
Okay,
I've ignored it until I couldn't ignore it anymore.
yeah. Okay, so we have a plan for the work plan going forward. Public festival permits, we dealt with the Twisted Halo, we also have one for the farmer's market, which is basically continue business as usual.
Yep, it's right here if anyone wants to see it. They prepaid the whole 500. If you want to see the dates or anything, it's May 17th through October 18th, on Saturdays.
Any discussion?
Not for me.
And I know that there was something that was a written note that I think the select board got in our little hubby at one point about concerns about parking. I don't know that that's within the scope of what we have to be concerned with. I just wanted to flag that there have been some concerns about congestion, traffic, and especially if there is still a really rough road situation in and around there, or if we're doing paving of slow road and that, you know, intersects with farmers market stuff, that might introduce some complexity. I don't know that there's anything specific that needs to be acted on. I just wanted to name that.
I'm not sure what the letter said. Was it that it's hard to park? That there's people almost getting hit?
That there's nowhere, it's C, all of the above, that there's nowhere to park, that it's too congested. There was a certain degree of, there's no room for locals with all of these out-of-towners here, which did not resonate with me so much, and a request that it be moved elsewhere, which also did not resonate with me so much. I just think that it's worth mentioning.
Okay.
I mean, there
are concerns about parking.
There've been reoccurring occasional complaints since it was started, I think. And they during busy weekends, they do traffic control. They get traffic control folks at the main intersection there.
Are they actually traffic control folks, or, because I think that was maybe one thing, was it was someone that they assigned to do traffic control, but who maybe did not actually know what they were doing, or have the appropriate garb that was actually visible and things like that.
They had the garb, and they have had sheriffs before.
Could be, but if anybody's out there directing traffic, they're required by
Yeah.
the state to have the flaggers certification.
They're actually technically required to have it's a no cost, but it's a permit through V-Trans. I know
Yes.
that because of, what's Waitsfield in?
Yes.
Well, it is very popular, and Saturday morning is not the day to go to the hardware store.
That's true.
Indeed.
Or
So I think it's also, I think, an important part of the economy, and
For sure.
I think as an economy that relies a significant amount on folks who are not just from here, that it's important to me at least that still be a welcome space.
Yeah, it's among the most successful farmers markets in the state.
It is.
You know, up with
If you look at the map of where they are, we're alone in central
Really?
Vermont.
Yeah, I think Waterbury's just went away.
Water is shut down, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So any further discussion?
Well, I can see where it's an inconvenience at times, but is it a public safety hazard? I would say no to the
No, I
latter.
agree with you.
Not,
I would say at this stage, no, as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you don't design the church for Easter. It's just a few weekends a year that it's really, really crowded.
bursting, yep.
Yeah. So any motion to approve it?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we talked, you're got a wacky schedule in June, which is fine, you're gonna work it out. You'll be away for a week, and then in
Yes.
Tennessee for the rest of the month, but doing work
Ish, yeah.
as,
Preparing to move.
okay.
Yep. So we'll be on holiday about June 8th to 15th. I do plan on working 4 hours, probably a day. Honestly, if I don't, I'll be too behind and it'll be stressful. And I think I'm just going to continue that, during the packing time and everything. With us planning on being up here at the end of June. My family will be in Canada most of July, but I don't have a house yet anyways, so that's okay. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I presented to the select board out of respect, and if you have any things you want me to do, or anything that's reasonable, I'm willing to chat about.
Our next meeting is, we rearrange May, so it's on the 19th, right? So we'll have the work plan, and if there's any, at that time, we can kind of look ahead and say, these are some things, if you limited time, we really want you to focus on.
Sure. And yeah, so at least maybe both meetings, both select board meetings, I'll be on Zoom also.
Yeah.
But I should, with the town, everyone in the town's so awesome. Like I left a little early on Friday to go pick up Aaron from the airport, and JP's like, I'll go hang up the, select board agenda, and like everyone's just awesome.
Agreed.
So select board roundtable?
The big picture just reopened as the bigger picture.
Yes, it did. I'm really excited about it. So, I hope everyone comes and sees a movie.
Yeah. Anything else, select board roundtable? Have we heard any, has there been any, our settlement on our zoning enforcement case, is there any follow-up to
Just,
that?
they made their first payment. They did it through the water bill, actually, which Jen was concerned about, but then she realized it's probably because it was for credit card. And so there's been a back and forth between Jen, myself, and Brian, and and we've said that that's okay. And if that's what they need to do, that's something that's doable, and moving that money is not that difficult.
Okay.
So that's good. Just today, we received, the judge signed off on it and everything. So I've already sent that to Jen, because that has to be part of her records. And then when all $15,000 is paid off, then that goes through the next process, which I don't understand that well. Dave, you probably do. So that's good. I mean, and he, the payment came through in time.
Okay.
So it was amazing.
There is a project underway to put some signage and emphasize the big oak slab that's downstairs in the
Yes.
foyer. Leo LaFerre is sort of heading it up, Bob Cook, Waitsfield Historical Society.
I was at a Conservation Commission meeting when Leo brought that up and pitched it.
So it's at the designers now. We'll see what it'll cost. See if the Historical Society can afford it or not. But anyway, I'll bring attention to that oak slab. You can't see the dates on it anymore or any of the writing, which is a problem. And it's such a waste, because that was an oak tree that grew right out here on the side hill that was owned by General Waite. So, it's one of those things that we need to take care of.
I don't know. I don't want to be too extreme guessing how many hours Bob Cook has stood in front of it. But it's probably more hours than I've worked for the town so far.
I've witnessed several of those.
It's like his
so,
magnifying glass and a flashlight. And it's like, they have been there for hours and hours. Like really.
As
Sparky.
there,
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as there are explorations of funding sources, I think potentially talking to the Rural Resource Commission might be helpful. I don't know if something about that particular piece would fall within the scope of what the certified local government can address, but I know that commission is meeting soon. So.
And you're on that commission, right?
I am.
Would you explore the possibility?
We can explore that possibility. I am still wrapping my head around what exactly falls within the scope of what a certified local government can get funding for, but I will explore that possibility.
It's pretty broad.
It is pretty broad.
Yeah.
I think it may be a matter of choosing between that and well, I don't want to speak out of turn. There are other things on the horizon, I think, having to do with the General Waite House as well, and potentially being a resource for that.
Well, I can remember.
But it's been a while since we've met, so I don't know.
I can remember when you could clearly read everything on that.
Oh, really?
And now you can't, unless you have a light shining at a correct angle and intensity, you can't read
How
it.
long ago could you read it pretty clearly? Like how fast is it degraded?
I think I was able to read it in the early 90s when it was over in town
Yeah,
office, was in
town
the
office.
library.
So it's degraded.
I
You
think
can see the numbers, the years.
most of the degradation has come since it's come here. Not that I'm saying anything in this building caused it, just the time finally got to it.
Which is weird because it's never been in the sun. direct sun.
I know it, but it is stamped. That's how they lettered the whole thing, was with stamps. In fact, you can take and do a rubbing and bring some of the writing to light so you can see it. I don't know what's caused it.
So I was on some email exchanges with Leo and Tony D'Amato, who I think runs the forestry program at UVM, and really sharp guy, talking about figuring out how to deal with the early stages when the rings are so concentrated, and how to estimate the age then. And there was some really fascinating back and forth about that.
Well, that slab was taken about 12 feet off the ground,
That was part
Oh,
of the
wow.
problem.
which means it grew to a certain, so
Yes.
many years before it reached.
That was
That
the
high.
mystery of trying to figure out what the likely number of years to get to there was.
So
Wow.
their best estimation is right around 1600, maybe 1590, someplace in that line it started.
Pretty cool.
So,
That's before,
Alright.
that's before I was born.
Me too.
Two other quick things
Yeah,
that we
really?
didn't address directly, and I don't know if we need to, within the context of the roundtable, the Jean Joslin Library Park.
Yeah, I kind of figured since it's in my report, we can just, if it's
Okay.
in there, we can finish that
Okay.
next. Unless you want to do it now.
All
why
right.
don't you go town administrator
No.
report, bring it up.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, that was at the end.
well, we can do Jean Joslin Library. Basically, the town funded the railing,
Yep.
which I think was maybe 1800. And I guess skateboarders are using it as they would. At any rate, the paint's mostly gone and it's rusting. And so Charlie is working with the person who made it and trying to come up with some ideas to make it more difficult for skateboarders to use it. And he just wanted to come to the board and see what your thoughts are on that.
Well, we were told when they designed that railing, it was going to be skate-proof.
It's definitely not skate-proof.
And so they
Skateboarders are very
designed it.
creative, that's all I'll say.
I mean, that's,
No, because originally it was wood, and I think we agreed that it should be metal, but not skateboardable.
That was our guidance.
I think I guess there's some things people are doing, but basically putting bumps that would make it not like difficult to use, but maybe also hopefully not kill a skateboarder if they did it, but make it difficult for them to use it as a
Or damage their
grind rail.
board,
Yeah, or damage. their
potentially.
board. So I don't know if. he
Also,
was
there's
kind of
this wonderful
asking for
skate
money.
park in Warren. You can just go there.
It is pretty awesome. I don't know if he was asking for money, he didn't really say, but I brought to the board what he wanted me to bring to the
Okay.
board.
We'll look forward to an update.
I won't say much about road paving, except that we just heard today, they're gonna, May 15th is the date they're gonna start, as Charlie, the road commissioner says, grind down Bridge Street. I think that's not the technical term, but, and then work is gonna follow pretty quick with laying a base the next week, and by the end of May, paving
Okay.
into early June.
We're going to get Whitney in there before then?
That's the goal,
Okay.
and it should not interfere with the marathon. The marathon's on the weekend, right?
Yeah, it's after the 4th, I forget what it is.
Oh, okay, and Charlie said regardless, that they're not gonna work on the weekends, so whether it's paved
Okay.
or dirt or ground down, it shouldn't affect.
It sounds
the
like it'll be
marathon.
done by then, though.
It might be.
The schedule, yeah.
And in terms, there's been a lot of emails and calls and people visiting on Bridge Street about the paving, which is why I put it in there. I did a lot of research on road widening, because we had some landowners wanting compensation maybe, on and on. Josh and Charlie both went to one landowner today and talked about the problem, measured the right of way, everything's good. Charlie.
This is in what section specifically?
Bridge Street, only Bridge Street, that's the only people coming, like
Because
multiple
the idea
landowners.
is to widen it a little bit, we can stripe it and have a walkway. you know, a little bit more.
On the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Charlie Goodman today, because I sent him another email about engineering and culverts, he said never in his like 4 million years of being a road commissioner has he ever gotten so many questions about a paving project.
Usually complaints because we aren't paving.
Yeah.
I emailed you all about in terms of FEMA reimbursement, it's getting late unless you really want me to talk about it. There's the FEMA reimbursement for last year's flooding event is really complicated. It's really difficult and we're doing our best. How's that?
Having been doing it and knowing what you're going through, you have my complete sympathy.
What's funny is you would think that they said we started it 2 weeks ago. Every week it's like, okay, we're starting this project for the first time ever. Like nothing had ever happened.
I gave them everything
I
that
know.
Josh recreated for them.
Let's just say Josh is doing his best to stay employed with the town.
That's the shared goal.
You can read the key updates in the town administrator report. If you have any questions, let me know, or you can let me know another time. Wastewater funding update. We decided to add this today because of a lot of things. I don't want to spend a lot of time. The main essence of this is that if you would like to sit down with Josh Schwartz and JB and myself, just like send me a note. And you know, Josh figures 20 or 30 minutes sitting down with us would give enough time to get you ready for next month's meeting. I say that because I'll just say we know that ARPA. So the ARPA timeline extension. I sent an email today with a formal letter. If you saw that, that's just formalizing something that they said they do.
That's to extend the date that the money needs to be extended by?
As of right now, like the 100% design was supposed to be like approximately end of June. Now we're extending it to the end of January. So John Ashley, the engineer, and I were like, we really need to formalize this and make sure. So we came up with this a document that I'm gonna send out probably tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll send you a note. I want to sit down with you guys, because I was, I'm not sure how much attention Josh is going to be able to devote to it in the near term in particular, so I'd like to get up to speed on it.
Yeah, so a lot is, I'll just say, so we know there's ARPA funding, we got a new $1 million, we've applied for 2 $1 million grants. USDA reached out to Josh Schwartz this morning with a connection he has, a woman pretty high up in the USDA that lives in Moortown. She thinks this is the most important project in Vermont. She's really pushing this through, and we may have a proposal even by our next meeting. But in her words, we have to act on this.
Yeah.
And there's not gonna be a lot of time. But it's gonna be mostly loans, and there's a lot of policy considerations. A lot for you guys. And it's pretty complex.
I would like to get up to speed as well.
Yeah, so I would recommend you reach out, say this is when we can do it. And Bob Cook and I at the same time both thought the same thing, that basically we need to have a workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many policy considerations that we can't answer.
Yeah.
And it's for you to answer.
Whoever has
Like a lot.
the tightest schedule, do you want to do a doodle or a scheduling email of what the possibilities are, and then we can respond?
Like sign up for a time.
Do you know how to do that? I can show you.
Yeah, but if you wanna, we can do it tomorrow, partially because because we have to work with JB and then
Yeah, no,
Josh. I mean, all of us can do it ourselves, but if each of you sit down with all three of us, that'd be much better.
Yeah, no, I think that's
I'd
the
like to
best.
do that.
That's the
Yeah,
best, and then we
let's
can
do
benefit
that.
from each other's questions.
Yeah.
And I just think,
And we'll build upon it, each person, and that goes to, and your point about Chach. We think that, like, the other thing that needs to happen soon is us to have like basically a funding meeting also with all the funders. And so that's gonna be on our radar for pretty soon.
Okay.
So yeah, just be ready for complicating stuff. And there's a lot of considerations,
Yeah.
and it's
So
stressing out
let's
just a little bit.
schedule a workshop, and just bearing in mind, if 3 of us are there, it's a morning meeting, which is
Yep.
fine.
Yeah, no, it needs to be, I think that will benefit the community.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, of updating you all, is also us intentionally saying, we wanna make sure we keep the community up to date too, because we don't wanna lack that, we don't wanna lose any of that trust. Is that good for now?
Yes.
Text.my.gov called again this morning, I did,
Yeah, I saw your email, thanks.
yeah, so you automatically, everyone in Waitsfield will get a text that says, you're getting this text from Text.my.gov.
How do they know that?
I have no idea. I don't get it. And then
It's
they
like
can opt out, or they
Slightly
can.
concerning on the face of it.
I know. Or they can go to, it automatically takes you to a sheet that said, I want updates on select board meetings or on this, but not on this.
Okay.
I reached out to the Waterbury town manager, and he basically said they're really happy they did it. They're not using it for tons of things now, but they can. And so far, they're happy, in
Thank you.
essence. Yep.
I look forward to talking about them.
I included just one opportunity for the select board, that I happened to be sitting down with Brian. He said you should just include opportunities for the select board in the meeting packet, and so that's what I did, which I think was a pretty great idea. I think that's the gist of that.
So is everybody okay with the consent agenda?
Where is it?
It's in the back page, item for approval is the liquor license. It's number 4 on the agenda.
This is just the.
Before the executive session. Do you want me to pull it up on the big screen?
Might be just the packet.
Do you want me to pull it up on the big screen?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah, it's not, the agenda and the packet was two different things.
I did it separate partially because that's the conversation I had with Amy.
Well, it was.
And so it's separate on the website also.
Especially if we're updating the agenda to make it easier to redo, but again, I have no strong feelings.
Where's the minutes?
Yes, we're on
Are they not, well, they're posted on the website, are they not on the, if they didn't make the packet, then I can't answer that, but I posted them to the website.
I don't know if they're in the packet, but.
They should be, yeah, they work the packet?
That's my
Nope.
fault, that's my fault,
Well, let's
I'm
pull,
sorry.
let's pull the
But they
minutes
are
and put
on
them in
the,
next meeting.
They're on the website, do you want to do it next time?
Yeah, we'll pull those for the next meeting. And we are all caught up with our minutes.
I think so, I have no
Mhm.
idea, like, I don't know what.
Are we sure? I'll double check as well.
I'm sorry.
I thought that on, it's okay, I thought on the original April 14th meeting that was scheduled, we were going to be addressing minutes from March, but I will check.
Because those were in the meeting packet, so why would we not have approved them at those
Well,
following
because I
meetings?
think I think they may have been removed from, and I could be misremembering. I think that last meeting before Brian left, it was so jam-packed that we ended up punting on approving some of the minutes,
Oh,
I
really?
thought.
Oh, okay, I can go
But
back to the
I
recording.
could be misremembering.
I've been referencing the recording a lot from even just last week's meeting, so I can go back and look at that also.
Okay, so we'll pull the minutes, everything else okay?
Yes.
So, good.
Looks good.
So how about executive session?
Okay.
We do have some personnel matters to talk about. We don't have any, it's all personnel, right?
It is?
Somebody wanna make the motion?
I'd make the motion to enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA 313A3 for personnel matters, to discuss the employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, and invite York Haverkamp to join the session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty.